Hey, folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
This is the Tornado Tony Petticoat.
And Psychic Tom Paget with his crystal ball still.
Yeah. Well, what's the COVID outlook, Tom, in the crystal ball? Are we opening up or are we closing down?
Not optimistic.
Not optimistic.
It's not telling me what I want it to. So
6 more weeks of winter?
That's not what I want to hear. Yeah, that's kind of what it's saying. So
you know,
of course, maybe it'll be since this has become political now.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see half the country open up, and half stay on lockdown.
Oh yeah, the other day it was funny because Trump was like
about it today.
all over the guy from Georgia. Oh yeah, you know, if he wants to do what he wants to do, he can do it. And then today they did the press conference, and he's like, "Oh, I was very mad at him. He shouldn't be opening up spas." And then he just snaps at the CNN reporter. Oh, that was classic. He's like, "No more questions from you." Fake news. Go ahead, Tony.
You know, when I was looking at tonight, and I was like, just thinking, I was like, a week from tonight, I would have been getting ready to go early, and leaving my house at 4:30 a.m. and headed down to the airport to fly out to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then
another big development in the news.
Who knows when we're going to start?
Anderson Cooper and the mayor of Vegas got into a little bit of a funny argument on the air the other night.
I heard. Well, it was
in the hotel industry. She says they got to figure
I
it out.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, she was looking at flights, just for the shit of looking at flights, and she was looking at mid-June, like June 16th to like 18th, something like that. And she goes, "Do you know right now, if you booked right now, because first of all, this was before they were talking about reopening things. This was about a week ago. So you didn't know if things were going to be reopened or if events were going to happen or shows were going to happen or anything was going to happen. It was like a round-trip flight on American, which is a top-flight airline, a round-trip flight from Philadelphia to Las Vegas. You want to take a guess at the amount?
Like $100? Oh. 200? No.
With your crystal ball.
Right. This is pre-corona.
I'm going lower. Okay, I'll say 88. Okay, here you go.
35.
Wow.
35. Well,
I'm still wondering where they're going to pay me $37 to take away a barrel of oil.
And the thing is,
that's where I want to find out. Where do I go for that?
and then
I'll take 5 of them.
He was looking at the Flamingo, which I the Flamingo before. She was saying like the Flamingo was under $40 a night. I'm like, wow. So then my little brain starts twirling, and we get worried when my little brain starts twirling. So, you don't know when flights are going to happen. That's the thing. You don't know if, even if shit wasn't happening like it was, you go out on a random June weekend, you don't know if there's going to be, you don't know what's scheduled out there. But then I started thinking about September, because obviously we're not having the big Cinco de Mayo weekend show next week, but, should be, different in September. And so my little brain starts going. I'm like, now what night would that be? Would that be the 12th, which as of right now I'm already committed to going to a concert. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. Or would it be the 19th? And I'm like, I think it would be the 19th. And I'm like, let me just see. I could get a package deal. Round-trip flight and 3 nights in a hotel for $600.
That's awesome. How many days?
Yeah. 3. I would fly out Friday. I'd fly home Monday.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah, and I could have actually got it cheaper, but I was looking at, better flights. I wasn't looking at, like the 5 a.m. with a stop where you would get in like 1 in the morning. And I'm like, no. I'll pay an extra $50 to fly out in the morning have a day out there.
Yeah. Well, pretty crazy.
So, my little brain always twirls. Now, which I did hear some things today, and to give you guys an update, because remember I work for a medical insurance company, so I get a lot of the information. I get medical information,
Oh, wow.
which
Inside
is
information. What do we? What stock do we buy, Tony?
Yeah, instead of people just talking. Yeah.
What stock is it?
But I know a lot of people like to talk just to say things, and they write things to say things. With my company, I've heard some things. Then I also heard today, the NHL has already started laying out their plan for the playoffs.
Really?
So they're expecting in July Stanley Cup playoff. So I mean, do we have a possibility? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing concrete. Now, last week after we had our discussion, on Thursday night, and we had Joey I on. So we didn't have a lot of time to talk about other bullshit because we actually had a boxing, related show. Mike,
Bonus
part of
time.
Independence Blue Cross, our CEO, he did a, a video thing. Goes, okay, we were hoping to have people back in the office, on May 1st. May 1st would be the last day from home. Start bringing people back on May 4th. And he goes, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not happening. No way, not happening. He goes, so we're going to extend 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks work from home. And then maybe May 18th we'll start bringing you back. So then my team's on a call together, and people are panicking. Oh, my God, well, I'm afraid to take the train. Oh, my God, what are we going to do? Oh, my God, do we have to drive? It's $20 a day to park. And I'm like, all right, guys, I want you all to be quiet right now. Because I said, listen, I'm one of the older guys on the team. These are a lot of young just out of college kids, and people in their late 20s, early 30s. And I said, guys, let me tell you this right now. Things can change in 4 weeks. We're looking at 4 weeks, guys, that they wanted us to start gradually coming back. You're talking like they're talking tomorrow. Let's see how things progress in the next few weeks, and then see what decision they make from there. They might turn around and say, you know what? 4 weeks ain't going to do it. We need to extend 4 more weeks. Let's let it happen as it happens.
Yeah.
So, that's been my, case on everything. Let's let things happen as they happen. It sucks right now. I want to go to fights. I want to go to ball games. I want to go to shows. I want to go to concerts.
There is
but
hope
I can't.
on the
So, I make the best out of it.
I did hear this morning, they haven't hyped it up too much during the day, but I did hear on the news this morning that the thing they call passive immunization, where they take the platelets and the plasma out of somebody's blood who has beaten the virus.
I've heard that.
So they did it with 2 older patients, one in his late 50s, one in his late 60s, and they completely get cured very quickly, very, as Trump would say, and did say multiple times.
I've heard that.
Very quickly. So, I think that's our best hope. And I'd like to see that before I'd like to see any stupid vaccine made by a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
Makes more logical sense.
You guys have heard me, I have no problems trashing the media because, I have done work with media and I've studied media. One of the things they were doing, in a way, because, most of the media is very liberal and they're anti-Trump, is anything he says, they're going to try to make him look bad.
Oh, yeah.
So,
hydroxychloroquine.
Good, the hydrochlorine, or whatever it was called, and he was touting that as a game changer. A study came out where people were dying because of it. No, that's not right. People were dying because they have the disease. And so you're basically saying, oh, died because they took this.
Yeah.
No, they were pretty much going to die anyway, I have a friend of mine that right now has been in a coma, medically induced coma, and they're hoping, they can, save him. The problem is he's about my height. He's older than me. He's probably in his 50s or so. But he's probably 350 pounds. Mm-hmm. We filmed a commercial together, a few years ago. And I'll send you a picture of he and I together, and you're going to see, oh, my God, this guy's a big guy. where there's probably a lot of stress on his heart and his lungs without this type of disease. And the crazy thing was the last Sixers game that was played in Philadelphia before all the games got shut down, he was there, and he posted a picture and a video, and he's like, I ain't afraid of no corona, let's go Sixers, baby.
Oh, yes.
And now he's going to come.
Yourself. I swear the whole thing was a jinx. I mean, you remember how many fucking names last year there were about 2020 being the year of the plague, because the plague happens every 100 years?
Yeah.
It was a fucking jinx. I'm glad I never did one, so you can't blame me. But, yeah, this thing was a jinx. People predicted it, and it almost, like, to me, ties into all the different conspiracy things, whichever one you want to believe in. But I mean, it reminds me of the time when they said, okay, gas prices are going to be $3 by Labor Day this year, and then like 3 weeks later they're at $3 because people have anticipated it and they know it's coming, so that the gas stations were just like, fuck it, we're going to put it at $3 now. 2 months early. So, I don't know. It's kind of like they set the stage for it by putting all that stuff out there and everybody believing that this is going to be the year of the plague, and then, bam, it happens. And now even Trump's calling it the plague, which I think is hilarious. All right, you're not calling it the Wuhan virus anymore or the China virus. You're going to call it the plague. Great. But, I don't know. It's just... They're just throwing a lot of money around. It makes you think that the big thing is they're going to reinvent the financial system on us. The entire thing, somehow, some way. They're going to have to. I mean, how are they going to pay all these debts? They're already screwed before this. Talking about states going bankrupt.
Make China pay for them.
Yeah, I don't think China's got enough money.
Well, yeah, then they're going to have to figure something the fuck out then.
Yeah, they're going to have to wash dishes.
Yeah, right.
For 20 years, every one of them. Anyway, Professional Fight League has moved their season, not until later in the year, until next year. So they've officially called it off. 2020 season is not going to happen. They're going to move it to the spring of 2021 after COVID is here with the flu. Apparently, this is what they're saying now. It's one of those things that Trump and Fauci are...
Boy, there'll be all kinds of what ifs about this.
Yeah.
You know, with guys at different stages of their career.
Yeah.
And
do you go get a second job?
Now. Boy, they'll be...
And do you get sucked into that second job? Because you can't afford to fight anymore. You know, you're not getting any paychecks.
Right. There's going to be a ton of stories like that.
And are these promotions going to make them come back for the money when they have no money themselves? May 9th supposedly is still going to happen. And there's another related story I'm going to get to in a minute on that.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. But no set location yet. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Professional Fight League has athletes from over 25 countries, so obviously it was informed decision, and they have stipends that they give monthly to their fighters. It's one of the most unique leagues out there. It was actually the World Series of Fighting, and they totally rebranded it to the Professional Fighters League. And it's kind of ironic because, you know, Dana White's always the one that has been saying, you know, we should be more like the NFL. We want to be like the NFL, you know, recognized as a league. And then here's this group of investors, one of them from the NFL ownership pool, I think, end up creating the PFL and actually pay people per month. And then they have $1 million prize at the end of the year in the tournaments for each weight class. So, they've agreed to actually pay the stipends, even though there will be no fights this year. So, very classy thing to do. And I don't know whether that qualifies them for the paycheck program, but I mean, I guess that's one of the benefits of being a league, not considering your guys independent contractors. So, yeah, that's kind of one of the positive examples of the whole situation, even though you're not going to have any fights. They're taking care of their people. I'd really love to see what the UFC is doing, if anything, for their fighters. Haven't heard much. Instead of them trying to scramble together a fight. But they did cancel 4 events officially. And I'm not sure what they're going to call it, but May 9th is going forward. Where it is, we don't know. Probably won't be in the audience anyway. You won't be able to get tickets unless you live on this infamous island, Fantasy Island. We have no clue where it is. There's been no leaks, so obviously this is a tight-lipped thing, even though there's apparently construction going on and they're, building this thing as we speak. This Fight Island thing is serious. You know it's serious when they start taking out trademarks, okay? 22 different trademarks on Fight Island. The UFC has just gone to the Patent and Trademark Office with. 11 of them for Fight Island and 11 for UFC Fight Island. So, yeah. Unbelievable. So they're going to be using it as a name of a competition. I don't know if they're going to do like a tournament thing again. I don't know. It's different rules. They got their own island. I don't know. But they're also going to be using it for branded goods. So, much like the Zuffa Boxing t-shirt, even if this never happens, we're probably going to see Fight Island t-shirts. But I don't know. This is a related article tagged in the middle of this. It says, Couture, obviously Randy, not a fan of UFC's Pandemic Island. But Randy Couture has not been a fan of the UFC since his exit from them, so I'm not surprised there. Anyway, it's a super secret island, basically. And it's going to be a workaround for any restrictions. But obviously they probably had to pay a lot for this thing, and it's got to be a private island for it to be not subject to any kind of, restrictions from some country's authorities or anything. I would think it's got to be a tropical island, because of the whole heat thing. Somewhere where they're not dealing with massive outbreaks. But anyway, we'll see. It could just be an island with no population. They're just building a freaking ring on it.
Apparently there's an island off the coast of Brazil or somewhere that it's illegal to inhabit it because it's so many venomous snakes. So, it could be there.
They had that whole show.
Just in
the treasure show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Snake Island. A freaking snake handler passed out one day. Not from a bite, he just passed out.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I'll tell you one guy you wouldn't catch there. That's me.
I'm not afraid of snakes. But I've never dealt with tropical snakes, and the tropical snakes are the ones that kill you. Unless you happen to get strangled by a python. I was sleeping in a separate, one of those domesticated ones that you think is safe, and then it just strangles you in the middle of the night.
Well, look, I heard on the news one time, a reason a guy got killed was time, and the snake was hungry, and he had brought in whatever the snake was going to eat, like a chicken or something, and I guess some of the scent of the chicken got on him. So when he went to take the snake out, the snake was so starving, the snake smelled the chicken on him and ended up strangling him. I would say, this is going to sound amazingly cruel, but I'm a type of person that, believes in, harsh punishment for violent criminals, right? And a lot of this life in prison I think is bullshit. They don't do the death penalty anymore, which I think is bullshit. But one of the things, you get a lot of these people that are like, what, you're going to give me a lethal injection? Cool, that's nothing. I'll take that in 2 seconds. It puts me out of my misery. So my thought process is, how's the best way to take a person out? You take their fear. So a guy like me, I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of snakes. Those are two of my biggest fears. So you put me on top of a building with a bunch of rattlesnakes. I got one of two ways to go.
Yeah.
Guess what? If I know that's the punishment, I ain't going to be doing no violent crimes. You have other people like that, can't have, touch anything with pork, because of religion. Okay, fine. Then you bury them in pig blood, just like General Pershing did in World War I. That's how you cure this shit. Well, that's way off topic, huh?
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, I'm just scanning through this article here. I hadn't read yet, but I was planning to talk about. It must be Dan Raphael's new job. He's already landed a job here with a boxing scene, I guess. Wrote an article about how boxing promoters are taking a hit here. So he found a quick home for himself. I'm like, why is this talking about Dan Raphael? And it's, of course, he's going to hang his hat on ESPN at the bottom in his little bio. Dan Raphael was ESPN.com senior boxing writer for 15 years and covered the sport for 5 years at USA Today. Oh, boy. Anyway. It's a pretty detailed piece. Talks about some of the ways they're handling it. They're mostly worried about not themselves so much, but their fighters. Some of the smaller people, some of the smaller promoters are really pissed about having to postpone stuff they had to pay up front for, and they'll never get some of that money back. And they have to reschedule things, so they have to secure dates. It's just it's very difficult for them. But Lou DiBella has had multiple key fighters have bouts canceled or postponed. Regis Prograis was going to face Maurice Hooker on a major DAZN event. The Zone. With former unified junior welterweight titleist Julius Indongo due to meet welterweight prospect Daniar Yelushinov on the undercard. Then we were going to have April 25th Sonny Fredrickson against Alex Saucedo. That was going to be on ESPN Plus. Amanda Serrano, former guest of ours, she was supposed to challenge the undisputed women's lightweight world champion Katie Taylor on May 2nd. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Lee Selby.
A friend of mine was supposed to go to that. He knows both of them.
Yeah. It's going to take a while to come back to this. Lightweight contender George Kambosos Jr. was supposed to face Lee Selby May 9th. Maybe he can go to Fight Island and they can start Zuffa boxing with Lou's permission. Anyway, do it May 8th. May 9th. Anyway, Lou DiBella says, I want everybody to be optimistic and hope for the best, but nobody is fighting in April, May, or June. And if people don't want to admit that now, they're doing a disservice. And he has about 70 fighters under contract, but also has a staff, so he's had to furlough a bunch of his boxing employees. And then he owns 2 minor league baseball teams. I don't know if you know that. I didn't know that until I read this. So he says the most stressful thing for any promoter is uncertainty. It's the most stressful thing for any human being. We're all living through the greatest period of uncertainty in our lifetime. As a promoter without a regular broadcast platform, the level of uncertainty is huge. Obviously, it's an advantage for top-ranked Golden Boy Eddie Hearn and PBC because they all have deals with major corporate entities with deep pockets and contracts. So they know there's money coming in once this is over. He estimates the loss is going to be costing him about $500,000. But he's thinking more about his fighters. He's not worried about himself. He's made some good investments. He's financially secure. But he's thinking about doing something for the fighters. He said he would consider interest-free loans of up to $2,500 for any of his fighters who have not yet boxed this year. And those will be personal loans. So they don't have to worry about feeding their kids, he says. I also added, I feel a responsibility to help them get through this time. Their livelihood is boxing, and right now there is no boxing. So he says, I worry about my fighters and my staff. I'm not laying anyone off, but I'm furloughing a large number of my employees in boxing and baseball. If I started figuring out exactly how much this is costing me, I would drive myself crazy. Right now, I'm just trying to weather the storm because the earliest I will see $1 from boxing is August, and I'm not counting on that either. I'm preparing for a scenario where there is no meaningful revenue until the fall. And then there's Michelle Rosado. They have a little promotion called Raging Babe.
Yep.
They're down at the 2300
Yep.
Arena in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
She was quite proud of her June 19th Philly special card. It was going to be a rivalry fight between Stevie Ortiz and Damon Allen. Now it's going to have to wait. And she estimates she's going to lose about $8,500 just on the incidentals. For promoting and advertising and marketing that show, upfront cash. So he's basically that's coming out of pocket, and would have been an $18,000 return on the show. Now that's down to about $10,000 if it all goes.
Yeah, that show was originally supposed to be March 27th. Because I was going to buy the tickets and I was going to buy the tickets directly from Christian. Christian was, on the card that night. And I had talked to his father, Frank, and we were waiting until I came back to Center City, and we were going to meet up one day. So the first week I was back in the city, I said, listen, I'm going to be here 3 days this week, and I really just got to get acclimated to being back. So, and I got to find out who's going with me. I know it's me, my dad, my trainee, Matt, and I want to bring my one friend for his birthday. I said, we'll touch base next week, and I'll meet with you. Well, the next week, we got the work-from-home orders. 3 days later is when all sports got postponed. When, the Marshall Kaufman card on March 14th that we talked about last week, that's Joey I was going to do the cut work for Sonny Conto. That got wiped out. So they're like, okay, we're going to push this show back 3 months to June 19th. Right now. And like I said, we're, 7 weeks away. Things can happen, now that they're talking about this, like I said, as we said earlier, this plasma thing and this, all these things can happen in 7 weeks, Yeah. You don't know. But that's one thing I'm not, optimistic about that card.
If you took the nation's
like I
pulse,
said, the NHL came out with the game plan today
on how they feel about all these restrictions. I think you're gonna get to the tipping point pretty soon where right now it's probably close to 60-40, 60 being the people who say, we got to keep doing these restrictions, do what they say, and then the 40 being, let's cut the shit and get to fucking work already. Pretty soon it's going to be 50-50, and then there's going to be the tipping point, and, it's not going to make any sense to anybody to keep this locked down. I think they're already starting to reveal, number one, that it looks more and more like a bioweapon. It came out of the lab. I saw the frickin' Attorney General say that on air the other day. They want to get into the lab. China's not letting us into the lab. So that's a big deal. And the other thing is, people are starting to realize the testing is a big issue because there's not enough tests. So if there's not enough tests, that means there's a shitload of people out there that have it and don't even know it, or had it and didn't even know it, and the death rate is drastically lower than the seasonal flu. So it isn't even really worth the restrictions that we've been doing. Yeah, it's great to wash your hands and avoid people, but I mean, how long can you do that and still be human? So I think a lot of people are going to reject it just for that alone.
Right.
They want to be human. They want to be close to each other. They want to party. They want to congregate.
Right.
And there's deep psychological issues involved in not doing that for a lot of people. There's going to be suicides. There's no
I think you're right. Because I know people that are basically by themselves, or they live in, like they're in a living arrangement that maybe is not the best. I'm fortunate that I have a gym downstairs where that's like my getaway time. I'm fortunate that hey, I think social media can help people if you use it the right way. A week ago, I was reading everybody just writing the most negative things in the world. I hate, and then from both sides. I hate Trump. I hate Nancy Pelosi. This person hates this person. This person hates that person. This person, stay inside, you idiots.
Yeah.
This person, I want to go back to work. And everybody was just bombarding all opposite views. And I turned around and I said, you know what? I said, everybody that reads this, comment something positive about your day, something you're happy about. And some people said, you know what, I had dinner with my family tonight. And they stopped for a second. And I had dinner with my family tonight. But other people said, you know, one girl I went to college with, her daughter is autistic and, you know, has really trouble with communication. And said, my daughter did something tonight for the first time. And that was very important to them. This girl's like 10 years old. You know, that was important to them. You know, and I'm like, you know, if you all look around, you know, here, the problem is, you know, I don't think it's, you know, as much in the area where I'm blessed. You know, I live in, you know, a suburban area, but it's not an overdeveloped suburban area. So there is a walking trail by my house. That's a good thing. I get some fresh air. You know, I have a little bit of ground that I can go outside. I can walk. I can work in the garden. I can do things. I can be outside. But then you have the people like that are down in the city and they're in high rises and they're on top of each other, and you have no way to get out. And then you have a lot of these kids that are idiots. That, you know, they're meeting on the basketball court, playing, you know, 6-on-6, 5-on-5. Well, that ain't helping. You know, and I know you want to get out, and you want to do things, but so it's like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm in both boats. You know, part of my boat is maybe because I am able to work, so, you know, I'm blessed enough where I can say, you know, I'm not worried about work and a paycheck. You know, still getting one. You know, so I'm like, that's not a worry to me. Do I want to go out and shopping? Do I want to go out to dinner? Absolutely. Do I want to games? Of course. Do I want to go over to my friend's house tonight? Yes, I do. And here's the thing: like, I just know I can't right now. You know, so maybe I do text messages or I do phone calls. You know, hey, I'm a very sensory type person, so I do like to see people. I do like to talk to people. I do like to see photos of me with people. These are all things, you know, we can't have right now. So, or you can't create new ones, so you got to look at the old ones. But at the same time, I want to, you know, be, you know, safe for myself, for my family, you know, because they're older, and, you know, they maybe have underlying medical conditions, but my parents do. So, you know, could I beat it? Absolutely. You know, my thing is, I'm a fighter, right? My thing is, put it in front of me, I walk right through it. Is that true? Maybe not. But in my mindset it is. But I don't want to give it to other people that maybe don't have that ability.
Right. This is a trip watching the NFL draft. Seeing LV next to the Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I know.
It's fucking real. It's not just because of the apocalypse. Man. I'm just glad that Fertitta's doing it. But yeah. It's one of those situations. Doesn't matter which side you come down on it. Somebody's going to point to some facts that supposedly prove you're wrong. But, you know, I'm taking advantage of this time to really get educated more than I already am. And there's a couple things that I found that actually just so happen to match up with my whole philosophy. First of all, there's the inventor of email. This guy named Dr. Shiva. And he's actually running for Congress, I believe, in Massachusetts. And he's got a lot of great ideas. And he's basically convinced that the reason why people are having all these issues is because they have weak immune systems. And he really goes off on the medical establishment and all that, and the way they've been doing things, and the way they've been treating viruses. he believes AZT, one of the AIDS, HIV medications, killed one of his friends. And he's a big believer that Anthony Fauci is a career diplomat or bureaucrat, and has just basically advocated for whatever the medical establishment wants him to. And he believes there is absolutely no causality. HIV and AIDS are totally not related, and he actually said that HIV is a harmless virus. A harmless virus. So that was interesting, and that's going to definitely factor into my Tommy Morrison article.
Yeah.
But also, there's been a lot of new information about different treatments and stuff. I mentioned the blood plasma thing. That's sort of an all-natural way. You're taking somebody's natural blood, and you're basically teaching the immune system this is what you watch out for. It's like a natural vaccine. That's why they call it passive immunization, which I think is just way more promising than anything the pharmaceutical corporations could create. And one thing that I did between last show and this one is I found something new to watch on Netflix. And if you guys have Netflix, I highly recommend this show. It's a documentary, actually, and you think we like recording ourselves talking. This guy, oh my God, it's called The Pharmacist. And I'll just give you a quick breakdown, but you have to watch it. You have to find a way to watch it. Get somebody else's Netflix password if you have to. It's amazing. And it's all the more kind of hits home. I don't know anybody who died from any overdoses from OxyContin or heroin or anything like that, but I do know my cousin and his girlfriend at one point when I was living down the Cape had problems with oxys, and his girlfriend ended up getting hooked to heroin because the oxys became harder to snort. They put some kind of coating on them, and that was a big thing. They would just snort them. And it just never made sense to me because whenever I would know my cousin was on one, I would see what he would do, and he would sit there with like a little handheld mirror and pick hairs out of his face and pick off his zits and shit like that, like for hours, and then he would puke. So I mean, I just seen what it did to him in a minute way, and he got clear of it, but he was lucky, and a lot of people weren't. And it was huge in New Hampshire. We'd see, within a couple of years ago, there was like a death a day in the newspaper. Talk about killing people. I mean, opioids, period, killed so many people in the last couple decades here. It's ridiculous. And this guy was a pharmacist, who the documentary is all about. And he basically notices there's one doctor in town, Detroit, and she's prescribing a shitload of these opioids, and always in like a package deal, like a 3-prong deal with these different drugs, Xanax, OxyContin, and something else. And so this guy's a pharmacist, and he starts recording conversations and recording himself talking because he lost his own son. Was what got him motivated. His son got shot in a drug deal gone bad. And first he solved that crime. That's the whole phase of the documentary. He totally solved that crime without the police. He started making phone calls and got one lady to confess, and then just kept pestering her and making sure that she testified against the guy who did it. So then that wasn't enough for him. He wanted to do something about the problem. So he decided to go after this doctor, and he got the DEA involved. He got the FDA. And then he just couldn't do anything. They wouldn't pull the trigger on this guy. Or this woman. It was a woman called Dr. Cleggett. So, long story short, he finds out from another attorney, county attorney somewhere else, who sued a pill mill doctor. And he basically said, you need a smoking gun, you need some kind of smoking gun, and you need to go to the medical review board first. And that will get some action taken. And so that's what he did. And his smoking gun was this bitch tried to get a prescription written for a 9-year-old girl for like 80 milligram Oxycontins, and like just a ridiculous amount of drugs. And so he actually called her up, the pharmacist, and was like, "Are you sure you want to give a 9-year-old girl this prescription?" And she basically got mad and hung up the phone and was like, "Are you a doctor?" So he basically was like, "All right, that was the smoking gun." And it's just, oh my God, the way that he did it and the way that they kind of had to drag their feet until he pulled out the stops and actually provided his own evidence. I mean, it's just like, there's just something about that guy. Like, he was there for a reason. He did that for a reason. And then it almost backfired on him. He almost felt responsible for everybody going to heroin. After Oxy kind of got wiped out by that whole scandal being exposed. It wasn't just him. I mean, I think the first story I heard about a pill mill was Florida. Florida was one of the most notorious states for it. There was pill mills everywhere in Florida during the big Oxy explosion. But I remember knowing it was bad when I worked for the Patriot Ledger in 2001, a tiny newspaper there in South Shore, Mass. And I started reading headlines about people robbing pharmacies for these pills and robbing warehouses. There was actually a state police officer who got caught robbing a pharmacy for this shit. So, it's unreal. And, you know, there was, before Oxycontins, there was Vicodins, there was, Hollywood people hooked on these drugs, sports people, you name it. And it's always kind of been in the back of my mind that, whatever cure or, real effective treatment you're going to have for anything that ails you, the last people you're going to want to trust is people that have been selling that kind of shit for years, depending on pill mills to make them rich. And that's the reason that the company that's behind OxyContin now, Purdue Pharmaceuticals, is actually in bankruptcy perpetually. So they will forever remain a company in bankruptcy designed to give money out to their victims. So it's kind of like, there's your socialized health care. Let's see if they do anything good with it. But I don't know. Just one of those issues that just is a backdrop for this whole thing, because I think what you're going to find out is the real emergency that exists here is we're approaching medicine the wrong way. We're totally not going into immune system, shoring up the immune system first. Even with cancer, it's always been you kill everything. Chemo, radiation, you kill everything to kill the cancer, instead of boosting your immune system to fight itself. So we're going to have to start seeing not only less costly and less overhead medical approaches like telehealth and telemedicine, and but all natural stuff. More blood platelet shit like I was talking about. I think that's the way to go, and that's going to be effective because your body's not going to reject that kind of thing, and it's not going to get hurt by it. No matter what drug they put out, it's got side effects. You're lucky if it's only diarrhea nowadays.
Yeah, right.
The side effects I keep seeing, I mean, they're more and more fatal. So that's the biggest problem I think we face is how do we fix the healthcare system so we can make up for the overwhelming surge this has created, and that we don't have all these conditions that make us susceptible to death from things like this. And part of it is staying in shape. I mean, I think that's a big factor in me not getting it, is that I was working out every day. And the big thing is the lungs, the lung capacity. I think you have to have good lungs, because obviously if it's affecting smokers more than non-smokers, cigarettes and all that, it's definitely something that's, if you have a weak lung or lungs, it's more likely to wipe you out. So anyway, crazy shit. Getting back to MMA, the fight scene. Conor McGregor's in the news again, and it's not for anything violent or anything, but It's probably a rumor. I don't know if there's any way of proving it. I haven't seen it anywhere else but this one site. But apparently Conor McGregor has his sights set on being the president of Ireland. And he won't get his chance until 2025. So this is a very early rumor. But he's 31 years old now. I don't know if they have an age limit like we do. But that would obviously put him over 35 if there's a 35-year-old age limit. I think that's what we are, right? 35 years old you have to be president?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Yes, I think we're all the dick.
So yes, unfortunately we can all be presidents. Unless we want to lie about our age. Yeah. Recently he actually has been involved with this coronavirus stuff over there in Ireland, and his aunt did die from it. I remember reading that in the first few weeks. So, yeah. I don't know what the betting houses are putting on his victory for odds, but he's got a lot of popularity, that's for damn sure. And he's got that, rags to riches story, so I'm sure that'll help his political ambitions. But, yeah, he's been putting it out there. He's been trying to give advice to authorities and demanding that they strengthen quarantine measures to prevent the spread, helping hospitals. I don't know what's going on with him, but, I mean, is it real or is it like a publicity stunt as far as his mentality lately? The last couple of years, he's kind of shown a different side, like all right, I'm going to be flashy in public, but, my regular private affairs, other than his incidents with smashing a phone and punching a guy in the face there, he's been really sincere about a lot of stuff all of a sudden. It's just kind of crazy, whether it's just the money and the opportunity to have a rested and relaxed life that has changed his outlook, or he's truly been humbled by something. I don't know, but something is different. He's still, kind of offensive here and there, outlandish in some of the things he says, but he definitely has like a somewhat softer side with some of these issues now, and it's weird to see, because you're expecting 24/7 asshole, and you get like asshole tainted with a little bit of nice guy here and there now. Like when he was giving Jose Aldo props for his, physique that everybody else was saying looked horrible, like he looked like he was torturing himself and starving himself. And Conor came out, oh no, he looks great. He looks like he's on pace to make the weight. It's just strange to see, Kind of like when they try to make a heel in wrestling, go over to the other side. Also, Anderson Silva is a fucking whore. That's the headline. According to Chris Weidman's coach, Anderson Silva is a fucking whore. So basically, the storyline is here. This is from MMAmania.com, the story. Anderson Silva wanted out. You saw after the loss to Chris Weidman, he broke his leg. The rubber chicken leg, I call it. That's a bad one. But he did not like the spotlight or the pressure of having the title. He said as much in his post-fight interview when he lost the title. I think was it the rematch that he broke his leg? I think it was a rematch, right? Tom? Do you remember? For Anderson Silva? Are you with us?
Yes.
Was it the rematch that he broke his leg? Anderson Silva?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it was the first fight that he lost.
Right, because in the first fight he got knocked out.
Yeah.
Because he was clowning.
Exactly.
So then the second fight came back, and Weidman blocked the kick perfect.
Right. So he was looking for an out before he got knocked out. The first time. And then actually, ironically, the breaking his leg made him realize he needed to stay in fighting, which is the oddest thing in the world to me. But I don't know. It made sense to him at the time. But Coach Longo, Ray Longo, New Yorker, so obviously he doesn't pull punches, points out that Silva agreed to a 10-fight contract extension, even though he wanted to leave, because he got these little perks. And apparently Lorenzo Fertitta himself bought Anderson a Bentley Continental GT. Sounds like a very fancy car to me. I'm not a car guy, but Bentley, I mean, it's $100,000 minimum kind of car. I know that much. So Coach Ray Longo says, so basically what he's saying is he's a fucking whore. And then from the rematch, they gave him a gift certificate to McDonald's. They let him have a shopping spree at Target for the rematch. They bought him out. Listen, I know you don't want to do this, but here's a gift card to Starbucks. I don't even understand. What does that mean? So, yeah, he's basically saying they bribed him to keep going. He says... Silva said, now, I would have stopped if I had won the rematch. I wouldn't fight anymore. But I ended up breaking my leg. I think that was a message from God saying to me, look, man, you're not supposed to stop yet. It took so long for you to get here, and now you want to stop? I don't know. I think those are subliminal messages that stay in your head. So, he hasn't competed since a TKO loss, actually, last May, so a year ago. 45 years old. He's just
and he was never the same. He was never the same, Rich. After that fight, he's never been the same.
1-6. He had that bad loss to the style bender there, who got to fight his idol, Adesanya, and 1-6 in that.
Yeah, then losing to Bisping. I mean, I don't think that would have happened in his prime.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in his prime.
Right. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen in the boxing world and the MMA world. I mean, everybody's canceling everything. Everybody's talking about walking down longer. But I think once you get into these late May days, people are just going to get so sick of being told to stay inside. They're either going to have more protests and disruptions, or they're just going to ignore the rules and just do what they want. But basically, the president is saying it's up to the states. So, I mean, it's all kind of dependent on what your state is expected to have for a problem. And I understand from what they're telling us that Philadelphia is on the list of cities, Tony, that might have an outbreak, a bad outbreak. So keep your mask on.
I've heard that, and so that's of course a big concern because my company is right in the center of the city, and public transportation is the way you have to go, and those subway systems and systems get jam packed. I mean, there are some days where there is no seats available and people are standing. So, and in the geniusness, because I know, obviously with, people traveling maybe less right now, they're saying, well, okay, maybe we'll run on a limited schedule. But then if they start bringing people back to work, well, then you should actually add more trains, because if you run on a limited schedule and more people are traveling to and from, you're just going to jam people in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the ironic thing. You need more people for the distance because you can't put too many people on a train now. It's almost ridiculous even going shopping up here. I mean, like, the arrows going down the damn aisles. Like, you can only go one way down the aisle now.
I got that.
Are you kidding me? And then people are afraid to go in the same aisle with you, even if it's, like, at the other end of the aisle for a half second. It's like, oh, give me a break. I mean,
you know what crazy reminds me of? The movie European Vacation with Chevy Chase, definitely not my favorite vacation movie, but it was one scene that I remember was when he was in England and they were going around the one circle, and he's trying to get off to the one exit, but he can't get over. And he keeps going on in the circle for hours, and every time he passes, he goes, "Oh, look, kids, it's Big Ben in Parliament."
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, we know." And they go there for hours, right? Last week, I was in the supermarket, because I do shopping for my family. I was in the supermarket, and I was looking for whatever in, like, the one aisle, and I passed it. And I said, "Oh, shit." So then I had to go all the way to the end of the aisle, and down the one way, and I looped around again. And I passed it again. I'm like, shit. And I was doing it more as a comedy. You know, I was like, I could probably stop my cart and walk 3 steps back. But I was like, no, I'm gonna make a joke out of this. And I would go around. I'm like, hey, look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament. And I would go around and again, hey, kids, look, Big Ben, Parliament. But that's what it felt like. And then you had other people that were going the wrong way. You know, like there was one woman in there. She reminded me of a female version of the Soup Nazi character in Seinfeld. And you're going wrong way. And I'm like, shit, you know, I'm going to get expelled from the store. But I'm like, there's other people going the wrong way, and where's the shopping cart or the supermarket, you know, traffic Nazi now? When these other people are going the wrong way.
Yeah, funny. Yep, it's a new world. Can't touch anything. Everything's infected.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And now it's like, I hear things like, now, there are certain people that do have to use public transportation because that is their means of transportation, especially in the city. Now, there was one guy, and I forget what he did, but he was an essential employee, was working in Philadelphia last week, and he was taking a bus at 1 in the morning to go home. And there were 3 teenagers on the bus. What were they doing all out at 1 in the morning? Who knows? But they started harassing the guy. And they came, he shot up all 3 of them. Like, fuck them, you know? You know they're up to good. That's the other week I was in the supermarket. This is before masks became absolutely mandatory. But I made a joke on Facebook. I said, I go there and I'm trying to make it a little bit light, and I got my surgical mask on, but on top of it, I got my bandana and my cowboy hat, looking like I'm going to rob a stagecoach. And I go in there, and I said, okay, the first thing that bothers me is 2 women that apparently maybe haven't seen each other since the outbreak and the quarantine. Well, they put their carts almost like back to back, so they were keeping people from getting close to them while they sat and had like a 10-minute conversation by the avocados. Well, lady, you're blocking me from getting my apples. I don't care about your family games of Yahtzee. Get the hell out of my way. Alexander Graham Bell made a telephone many years ago, and you can call each other. That's what we're doing right now. Right. Then see a family, and I thought you're supposed to limit it to just maybe 1 or 2 people going, but this was a whole family, and the kids were like teenagers. So not that they had to be out with parents. They're all wearing matching sweaters. I'm like, you look ridiculous. It's not Christmas time. And, they're walking down the aisle. And I'm like, looking at these idiots. And then the last ones that really got my nerves was 3 teenagers, probably around 16 to 13. 2 guys and a girl. No masks, no gloves, nothing on. They're walking side by side, and they're just skipping and joking and laughing and trying to trip each other and push each other. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm getting annoyed. And I get annoyed very easily. And I said, you might not be concerned about catching COVID-19. What you ought to be concerned about is catching COVID left hook right in the mouth. I don't care if you're a 13-year-old girl, you ain't going to live to see 14. Now it's like, you have, especially people, a lot of these, and I'm not just talking about teenagers either, just overall people that are just low mentality, really dregs of the earth. And you have, like, certain people that go into stores and think it's funny to cough over, produce. Like one woman, she damaged $35,000 worth of produce at a grocery store. $30,000 worth of produce because she went in there and she was coughing all over. And I got the corona. I got it. I think this is funny. And when they caught her and they arrested her, they said she's been in our store before. She's generally a nuisance, and she's one of them smart ass people. Well, you know what you do to someone like that? You wear a strap out on their ass. and then you see how funny they think it is. And you got these smart-ass teenagers, and you get these other smart-ass people. You know, you're walking somewhere and say, hey, can you see back up a few feet, cough in your face? Well, you know what? You cough in my face, you're going to be, eating applesauce out of a straw, because I will, unhinge your jaw.
Nice. Yeah, you should.
And I'll be in the right. That's the best part about it.
We might need essential employees like you for when they do open up the country, so you can just throttle irresponsible people when they least expect it.
yeah, exactly.
Like, who's that guy? They did the commercial. Terry Tate, the office lineman. Remember him?
Terry Tate, office linebacker. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
A few weeks ago, when they were before they started putting restrictions in, where senior citizens could go first in the morning, before places got overly crowded, and there'd be a rush on like toilet paper and other things that older people maybe couldn't get. I had a few people that I knew that I offered. I said, I can't do it during a work day because I do have to work, but I said, if there are some days that you want to go out shopping and you need someone to go with you to kind of help you and in a way protect you, I'll go with you. I'll drop somebody. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, you got to sit there. You got to bring your pool noodles. You just walk around with your pool noodles extended. It keeps you 6 feet distance all around you. Different times. Anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up for the evening. I'm going to try to get Erin Tuffhill next week. I know she was on the agenda. I didn't really get to her in time to reschedule for this week. I kind of told her about it a couple weeks ago and then didn't follow up in time. So next week we'll have her, and until then, stay safe. Duck and cover.
Okay. All right, guys, stay safe. Over and out. Tom, I put that video I think you'll like.